Sharp 12, everyone, and welcome to the House of Seven Beggars. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the East Coast of the diaspora. This is, of course, the House of Seven Beggars. Therefore, it must be the Shul Torah study. Yes, the Shul Torah study. And tonight, we start a new Sefer, Vayikra. Exactly, Vayikra. So, we're glad to have everybody here. Let's see who we got in the chat room. We have Yair, Shoshi, maybe Shlomo, Dorothy, Roger, Daniel, and maybe Brooke, and John D. Good to have you all with us this evening. Okay, so we are going to start a new Sefer tonight. So we've got a lot to go. We probably should get right on to the Torah study. We probably should. Yes. Okay. So let's start out by I want to read the introduction to Vayikra from the Stone edition of the Chumash or the Tanakh. And because it really is, it's a very good introduction, as are all of the introductions here. But it gives us a little deeper understanding of what is going on. Okay, we had Netcat 07 and Max, and Richard is with us. Outstanding. And Richard has just written a new piece of music, and that we're going to incorporate as soon as I get around to actually putting the lead in together. So watch for it. It'll be coming up pretty soon. Okay, so anyway, we're glad to have you all here. You said that. Yes, I know I said that. It's a bad habit. Yes, kind of like you're saying, yeah, I know I say it a lot. Anyway, we shall begin, shall we? Anytime. Okay. In the lexicon of the Talmudic sages, the book of Leviticus, or Vayikra, is called Torah Kohanim. The Torah of the Kohanim, or priest, because most of the book deals with the laws of the temple service and other laws relating to the priest and their responsibilities. The opening chapter of the book deals almost exclusively with animal korbanot, a word that is commonly translated as either sacrifice or offerings. But the truth is that the English language does not have a word that accurately expresses the concept of korban. The word sacrifice implies that the person bringing it is expected to deprive himself of something valuable. But God finds no joy in his children's anguish or deprivation. Offerings is more positive and closer to the mark. Indeed, we use it in this translation here. But it too falls short of the Hebrew korban. Does God require our gifts to appease or assuage his anger? And if he did, of what significance is a bull or lamb to him? If you have acted righteously, what have you given him? And that is from Job. God does not become enriched by man's largesse. The root of the word korban, which is kof resh vet, excuse me, what? Kof, resh, vet. Kuf. Kof. Kuf. Kof. I was taught it was kuf. I was taught it was cough. What is this? Is this going to be like a Litvak, Litzianer kind of conversation? No. It's just standard Yiddish. Well, we're not talking about Yiddish here. We're talking about standard Hebrew, or standard Hebrew as it's spoken in Yisrael. Cough. Kuf. Okay. Whatever. Cough or kuf. Reish vet. Which means to come near. The person bringing an offering comes closer to God. He elevates his level of spirituality. That is the true meaning of the word and the significance of the act. For modern man, who has been weaned on the delusion that anything not measurable or replicatable is unworthy of serious consideration, and who, after all, is the product of over 19 centuries without the temple, the notion of animal offering seems bizarre, even primitive. However, let's imagine ourselves among our ancestors when the first Korbanim brought the first Kohanim brought their first offerings in the newly built tabernacle. There was a palpable recognition of God's glory resting upon their handiwork, and a miraculous heavenly fire descended to consume the offering. Could they have doubted the efficacy of the service? Would we have felt otherwise if we had been there too? The commentators offer various rationale for and meta-rationale explanations for the offerings. Without attempting to more than barely scratch the surface, we briefly summarize one thought. Whatever the Torah speaks of offerings, it uses the four-letter name of God. The Yod He Vav He. Yes, the Yod He Vav He. That signifies His mercy. The offerings are the means He gives us to rejuvenate ourselves, to provide us with a means to bring elevation and purity into our lives. This is when man serves God. This way, it is when man serves God this way that he finds the offering to be a satisfying aroma, meaning, as the sages have explained and as we have talked about before, that God says, as it were, I have commanded, and my children will have been done. My will have been done. So, in other words, it's not the odor. No, it's not the sweet aroma or odor that's rising up that's pleasing to God. It's the fact that we are doing what God asks us to do. He asked us to do it. We are doing it. Therefore, that is what is pleasing to God. As a matter of fact, we are going to find out here in the Parsha here that the korban of the bird for a poor man is actually it's burned with its feathers on its wings, and if you've ever smelled the odor of burning feathers, it's not a very pleasing aroma. It's rather odious, but again, the rabbis tell us that these feathers, as they are burning and flying off or floating away, decorate the altar, as it were, and that is pleasing to God. So even the poor man's offering is as pleasing to God as the person who brings a bull or a goat or a sheep or something like that. So anyway, let us move on with the Torah portion, Vayikra, and we begin with the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Hashem called Moshe, and Hashem spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when a man among you brings an offering to Hashem of animals, from the cattle or from the flock, shall you bring your offering. So first of all, we have he called to Moshe, and we are told that he called to him. Moshe was able to hear it, was able to hear Hashem call, but none of the rest of Israel could hear it. And he called to him from the tent of meeting. So from the tent of meeting, we know this is where the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies, is, that Hashem was speaking to him from the top of the ark, and more specifically, so that we don't get the idea that it was from the entire tent of meeting, that it wasn't from the entire ark, it wasn't from the entire top of the ark, that it was from the space between the two cheruvim that were on top of the ark. That the voice emanated from there, and that Moshe was able to hear it, and he could actually come to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and he could hear Hashem speaking to him there. So speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man among you brings an offering to Hashem from animals, from cattle, or from the flock, shall you bring your offering. Okay, so when we're talking about when a man brings you an offering, brings, which denotes that this is voluntary. This is a voluntary offering that he is making, as you know, opposed to the offerings that are made to atone for sins or for whatever. Okay, so this is I guess you would call a free will offering. If one's offering is a burnt offering from the cattle, he shall offer an unblemished male. He shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting voluntarily before Hashem. And so if he had made a pledge to make this voluntary offering, and he had forgotten, whether he forgot intentionally or he forgot unintentionally, regardless, what did the rabbis say we were supposed to do? Well, we're supposed to convince him. Yes, we're supposed to convince him. We're supposed to well, we can't force him, because then it wouldn't be voluntary. No, but if we keep badgering him until he actually says, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, so we actually we do whatever we can do to induce him to bring this offering that he has made this pledge to do. So, voluntarily before Hashem. He shall lean his hands forcefully. Yes, he shall lean his hands, and we are told that when he leans his hands on, he is supposed to lean his hands on the head of the animal forcefully. Don't look at me like that. What are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything. I'm trying to demonstrate a point in the Torah. Oh, sure, and you had to use me? Well, you're sitting here. What else was I going to use? You could have used yourself. Well, I could have, but you were handy. Okay, I see how this is going to go tonight. Okay, moving right along. Let's see. He shall lean his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall become acceptable for him to atone for him. He shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. The sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, shall bring the blood and throw the blood on the altar all around. Now, there is a way that it's actually done. That there is a line, depending on what the sacrifice is, depends on where they throw the blood. And the red line, yes, the red line. The red line, for certain sacrifices, the blood is thrown above the red line, and for other sacrifices, it's thrown below the red line. And also, talks about throw on the blood all around. So we're thinking, here's the Kohen, and he's walking around with this blood, and he's splashing it all over the ark. That's not really what happened. No, it is not what happened. So how did it happen? Well, actually, the priest would go to one corner, and he would cast the blood, and it would strike both sides of the altar, and then he would go to the opposite corner, and he would do the same thing. That way, he would be able to cast the blood on 4 corners in 2 moves. Exactly. He would actually be able to make 2 castings and cover all 4 sides of the altar. True. Okay. So, we friends again? Oh yeah, we are always friends. Okay. Good. Glad to hear it. Okay, so we shall slaughter and Aharon and brother, they're all rot, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall skin and burn the burnt offering and cut it into its pieces, which Rashi says it's just not just a matter of just cutting it up. That there are a prescribed method of cutting the sacrifice up into specific pieces. That's why it says to cut it into its pieces, so that it would be cut the way that it's supposed to be cut, and it was forbidden to cut it into smaller portions or anything like that. The sons of Aharon, the Kohen, shall place fire on the altar. But didn't the introduction say that the fire came down from heaven? Yes, actually the introduction did say that the fire would come down from heaven and consume it. But if you remember last week when we were talking about the menorah and how it was formed, and we talked about how Moshe and Bezalel could not figure out, and Oholiab could not figure out how to make this thing out of one solid piece of gold, that they actually all got credit for it because Bezalel created the fire, Moshe cast the gold into the fire, and Hashem caused the menorah to form out of the fire. So they actually got credit for actually creating it. Well, this is the same case here, that the fire that was brought to the altar, because it was a blessing for them to bring it to the altar, to place the fire on the altar, and they were placing it on a rather small amount of wood. The wood that they were placing it on was about a cubit square, which is not very much. And when you're thinking about you're going to burn a bull on the altar, you're going to need a lot more fire than just one square cubit of wood to burn that up. But again, this is so that the Kohanim would have the blessings of being part of this creating the fire to burn the offering, the korban, to make it to go up into smoke. So as they would place, they would create the fire. They would place the pieces on the altar, and then the fire would come down and consume it from above. So place the fire on the altar and arrange the wood on the fire. So the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, shall arrange the pieces, the head and the fats on the wood that is on the fire, that is on the altar. He shall wash its innards with its feet in water, and the Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, a burnt offering, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. As we said at the beginning, that the satisfying aroma to Hashem is not the fact that there is flesh burning on the altar, it is that the people are obeying the command. Okay, I'll just catch up with the chat room here. Okay. Okay. Anyway, moving back. I've got a good crowd tonight. We got 12 people. Not everybody is jumping into the chat room and chatting, but here, come on, people, get into the chat room. It's a lot of fun. Yes, it is a lot of fun. It's a great group of people in there, and they don't bite very hard. Anyway, right, Richard? Okay. So, and if one's offering is from the flock, from the sheep, or from the goats, for a burnt offering, he shall offer an unblemished male. Always the male. Yes, always the male, never a female. Yeah. He shall slaughter it at the north side of the altar before Hashem. And the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, shall throw the blood on the altar all around. He shall cut it into its pieces, its head and its fats. The Kohen shall arrange them on the wood, and it is that is on the fire, that is on the altar. He shall wash the innards and the feet in water. The Kohen shall bring it all and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. Okay, if one's offering to Hashem is a burnt offering of fowl. Now, these are all based on what the person could afford. So if a person couldn't afford a bull, he brought a sheep or a goat. If he couldn't afford a sheep or a goat, he brought a bird. Either, and it had to be one of two kinds. If one's offering was a burnt offering of fowl, he shall bring his offering of 2 turtle doves, or from turtle doves, or from young doves. Now the rabbis tell us that turtle doves and young doves are very significant. Why it says it the way it says it. Turtle doves means that these are mature birds, while the young doves are immature birds. And the way that they could tell the same way from both. And that was there was a reddish color to the feathers. And that if they could tell a turtle dove was mature by the color of the feathers. The same thing with the young dove. When the young dove, was young, when he matured, the colors of his feathers would change. So they were able to tell the difference in the age by the coloring of the feathers. The Kohen shall bring it to the altar. Rip. Actually, I think it actually says nip. Nip its head and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, having pressed out the blood on the altar wall. So he cut the head off? No, actually he didn't cut the head off. That's why it says rip here, but the other version, the Ketzenbaum version that we read from, says nip. And the rabbis go on to talk about what this actually means, and it actually means that he severed the bird's head with his thumbnail. Okay, so he didn't actually cut into it to cut off its head. And there was a way to do it so that it was quick. It's just like any of the other sacrifices Where the idea is to cause as little discomfort or pain to the animal whatsoever. So they were trained specially how to nip the head of the bird so that it was almost instantaneous death for the bird. Okay, so he shall remove its crop with its feathers, and he shall throw it near the altar toward the east, to the place of ashes. He shall split it with its feathers. With its feathers. Okay, and split it, and they said it actually was split up the back. Yes. They were told that it was split from the back. I guess it's probably because the spine is so close to the the skin at that point. Okay, so with its feathers, he need not sever it. In other words, he need not take off the wings of the bird from the rest of the body. The Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering. It is a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. And again, it shows that the bull offering is just as acceptable to Hashem as the offering of the poor man who can only bring a offering of a turtle dove or a young dove. When a person offers a meal offering, and again, this is even poorer person who can't even afford a bird, he can bring a meal offering. Now, he has to be careful about the meal offering. Yes, he has to make a statement. Yes, as we see so many times, he has to make a statement, because if he says, I'm going to bring a meal offering to the temple, it has to be a meal offering of fine flour, because that's the first one. So he has to make his intention very clear if he's going to make that pronouncement or declaration in front of people that he is going to make this offering. So when a person offers a meal offering to Hashem, his offering shall be of fine flour. He shall pour oil upon it and place frankincense upon it. Now, there's a little bit of dispute here. Was it actually... Okay, there's actually a couple of disputes here. You know, who did it? Yes, who did it? Okay, it said, he shall pour oil on it. Now, we would think that it's Kohanim that poured on. And we find out that not necessarily. It might have been somebody else, another Israelite may have poured oil on it, as long as it was done within the Mishkan precincts, that it didn't have to be the Kohanim that actually poured the oil on the flour. Same thing for placing the frankincense on it. It says on it. The rabbis, specifically Rashi, tells us that the frankincense was not actually placed on the flour. It was actually placed next to the flour. Okay, so, and he shall bring it to the sons. See, and this is where we get the idea that it didn't necessarily have to be a Kohen that actually did this. Okay, because then it goes on to say, okay, so he'll get the flour, pour the oil on it, place the frankincense on it, then he will bring it to to Aharon and the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, one of whom shall scoop his 3 fingerfuls from it for its fine flour and from its oil, as well as its frankincense. Okay, and there's a very specific way that this was done. It's very interesting, because is that how do you actually know? You know, it says it has to be a fistful. Well, how do you know? You know, are we talking about, you know, grab a fistful so that it's running out between your fingers and out of the top and everything else like that? No, it talks about the 3 fingers full here. Well, is he scooping 3 fingers fulls out of it? And actually, Rashi goes, they go into great detail about that. Is that they scoop the flour up, and he folds his 3 fingers over Actually, he folds all 4 fingers over the top of it. Okay? And with his thumb, he wipes down on the edge, and with his finger here, he wipes up from underneath to clear away the other flour and frankincense. And he's left with exactly three fingerfuls there. Very interesting. And these guys really had to know what they were doing. So Christopher Robbins has joined us. Obviously, he's found his way out of the 100-acre woods. Okay. So 3 fingerfuls from it. From its fine flour and from its oil, as well as its frankincense, and the Kohen shall cause its memorial portion, that's the 3 fingerfuls, to go up in smoke on the altar, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. Okay, so again, just as acceptable. The poor man who can only afford the meal offering, his offering is just as acceptable as the rich man who can offer a complete bowl. People could actually, on free will offerings and stuff like that, they could actually go in together. 2 people could actually go in on a korban. And there was actually community korbanot. Okay, so the remnant of the meal offering is for Aharon and his sons, most holy, from the fire offering of Hashem. When you offer a meal offering that is baked in an oven, it shall be of fine flour, unleavened loaves mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers smeared with oil. You shall offer it if your offering is a meal offering from a pan. Okay, so it shall be of fine flour mixed with oil, and it shall be unleavened. You shall break it into pieces and pour oil upon it. It is a meal offering. If your offering is a meal offering from a deep pan. And again, Rashi goes into quite a bit of explanation about this, saying that the meal offering of the pan, which was a shallow pan, which allowed, they put the oil in, and because of the, there's a large surface and area, and the loaf, or the unleavened bread in there would be very hard, as opposed to in the deep pan, which the oil would collect into the bottom and would not actually burn away, so that the meal offering in the deep pan was actually softer than the one in the shallow pan. It shall be made of fine flour with oil. You shall present to Hashem the meal offering that will be prepared from these. He shall bring it to the Kohen, who shall bring it close to the altar. And the Kohen, for these he shall bring it to the Kohen, and should bring it up on the altar. The Kohen shall lift up its memorial portion from the meal offering and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, a fire offering, satisfying aroma to Hashem. The remnant of the meal offering is for Aharon and his sons, most holy, from the fire offering of Hashem. Any meal offering that you offer to Hashem shall not be prepared leavened, for you shall not cause to go up in smoke from any leavening or fruit honey as a fire offering to Hashem. You shall offer them as a first fruit offering to Hashem, but they may not go up on the altar for a satisfying aroma. In other words, there is the wave and the heave. Remember, we talked about that. The offerings that are the wave offering and the heave offering. Just catching up on the chat here. Okay, yes, we do this every Wednesday. For a long time now. For a long time now. Not always with me, though. No, not always with you. But, for quite a few years, you had your own show all by yourself. Yeah, that is true. Okay, yeah, Zeyde's Story Corner. Remember that? Oh, how could I forget that? We read a lot of good books. Yes, we did read a lot of good books. Okay, so, you shall salt your every meal offering with salt. You may not discontinue the salt of your God's covenant, from upon your meal offering. On your every offering shall you offer salt. Kind of like you. Yeah, I do kind of like my salt on my food. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. It's not good for you. I know it's not good for me. But my levels are all good. For now. Okay. When they start getting out of control, then we'll have a discussion about the salt. But my blood pressure has been very, very good, so I'm going to keep salting my food as I have been. Okay. So, when you bring a meal offering, excuse me. When you bring a meal offering of the first grain to Hashem from ripe ears, parched over fire, ground with plump kernels, shall you offer the meal offering of your first grain. What about the tube? Yeah, actually, Rashi goes into a little bit of detail on this, talking about these kernels were actually roasted in a tube, because it couldn't be actually. You couldn't make a meal offering of it if it had any moisture in it. So these had to be roasted, as it says in here, parched over fire, ground from plump kernels, which means they had to be roasted. So in order to be able to crush them and make them into a milled, as it were, into a meal offering, because these were actually, it was a coarse kind of a meal offering. They said it was actually the texture of something that had been milled. Okay, you shall put oil on it and place frankincense on it, a meal offering. The Kohen shall cause its memorial portion to go up in smoke from its flour and its oil, as well as its frankincense, a fire offering to Hashem. Okay, chapter 3. If his offering is a feast peace offering. Okay, so a feast peace offering. And the rabbis tell us that these offerings were made to create peace in the world. These offerings were for, these were a free will offering. They were to bring peace between all of Israel and bring peace into the world. The way we don't have that today in Israel. Yes, it is too bad we don't have this today in Israel. I mean, after seeing what had gone on in all the elections over there and all the fighting and the nasty rhetoric, the lashon hara that was going on, and all that other stuff. It would be very nice if we could actually have a feast peace offering about now. Okay, but soon. Maybe soon and in our days. Yes, soon and in our days. Okay. If he offers it from the cattle, whether male or female, unblemished shall he offer it before Hashem. He shall lean his hands forcefully upon the head of its offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The sons of Aharon, the Kohen, shall throw the blood upon the altar all around, from the feast peace offering he shall offer as a fire offering to Hashem the fat that covers the innards and all the fat upon the innards, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is upon them and that is upon the flanks. And he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver and with the kidneys altogether. The sons of Aharon shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, besides the burnt offering that is on the wood that is on the fire, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. If his offering to Hashem is a feast peace offering from the flock, male or female, unblemished, shall he offer it. He shall offer a sheep as his offering. He shall bring it before Hashem. He shall lean his hands forcefully upon the head of his offering and slaughter it before the tent of meeting. And the sons of Aharon shall throw the blood upon the altar all around from the 2 corners. From the feast peace offering, he shall offer as a fire offering to Hashem the choicest parts, the entire tail. He shall remove it above the kidneys and the fat that covers the innards, and all the fat that is upon the innards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and that is upon the flanks. And he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver, with the kidneys. The Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. It is food of the fire for Hashem. If the offering is a goat, he shall bring it before Hashem. He shall lean his hands upon its head forcefully, and slaughter it before the tent of meeting. And the sons of Aharon shall throw its blood upon the altar all around, and shall bring his offering from it as a fire offering to Hashem, the fat that covers the innards, all the fat that is upon the innards, the 2 kidneys and the fat that is upon them, and that is upon the flanks. He shall remove the diaphragm with the liver and with the kidneys. The Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar, the food of the fire for a satisfying aroma, all the choice parts for Hashem. An eternal decree for your generations in all your dwelling places. You may not consume any fat or any blood. And we're talking specifically the fat that's supposed to be the fat that goes to Hashem, and specifically any blood. That's why our food tends to be so well done. Okay, so we are about halfway through our time here, and we're at the end of chapter 3. So let's take our 6-minute break about here and get everything lined up so we can do this quickly. And we'll take a quick 6-minute break, have a chance to get something to drink, have a little nosh, take care of a little business, and we will return in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. Okay. So, again, we are on Parsha Vayikra, and we are at chapter 4. Okay. So, Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, when a person will sin unintentionally from among the commandments of Hashem that may not be done, and he commits one of them. If the anointed Kohen will sin, bringing guilt upon the people for his sin that he committed, he shall offer a young bull, unblemished, to and it goes on to talk about a young bull. They're saying, well, it can't be an old bull, but it can't be a really young bull. So, it goes on to talk about, like a bull in its first year, or past its first year or something like that. Unblemished to Hashem as a sin offering. He shall bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before Hashem. He shall lean his hands upon the head of the bull, and he shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. The anointed Kohen shall take from the blood of the bull, bring it to the tent of meeting. The Kohen shall dip his finger into the blood. He shall sprinkle some of the blood 7 times before Hashem toward the curtain of the holy. Not on it. No, not on the curtain, but towards the curtain. But Rashi goes on to explain that even if actually the sages actually say that, well, if some of it just happens to hit the curtain, it's not a terrible thing to happen. But they're not supposed to intentionally try and sprinkle it on the curtain. The Kohen shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar, where incense is caused to go up in smoke before Hashem, which is in the tent of meeting, and all the remaining blood of the bull shall pour into the base of the burnt offering altar, which is at the tent of meeting, at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall separate all the fats of the sin offering bull from it, the fat that covers the innards, and all the fat upon the innards, the 2 kidneys, and the fat upon them, which is upon the flanks, and he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver, with the kidneys. These guys really had to be good. Yeah, actually, they really did have to be very good at what they did to make sure that this was all done just right. So, just as it would be removed from the feast peace offering bull. And the Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the burnt offering altar. But the hide of the bull and all its flesh with its head and with its feet and its innards and its waist, the entire bull shall be removed to the outside of the camp to a pure place where the ash is poured, and he shall burn it on wood in fire. On the place where the ash is poured shall it be burned. If the entire assembly of Israel shall err, the matter became obscure from the eyes of the congregation. In other words, say the Knesset had told them to do something, and they followed along with them, unknowing that they were making an error, and they commit one from among the commandments of Hashem that may not be done, and they become guilty. When the sign regarding which they committed, or the sin regarding which they committed, becomes known, the congregation shall, and this is a congregational offering, the congregation shall offer a bull as a sin offering, and they shall bring it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the assembly shall lean their hands upon the head of the bull before Hashem, and someone shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. The anointed Kohen shall bring part of the bull's blood to the tent of meeting, and the Kohen shall dip his finger in the blood, and he shall sprinkle 7 times before Hashem towards the curtain, not on the curtain, but towards the curtain. He shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar that is before Hashem, which is in the tent of meeting, and all the remaining blood shall pour onto the base of the burnt offering altar, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall separate all of its fats from it and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. He shall do to the bull as he had done to the sin offering bull, so shall he do to it. Thus shall the Kohen provide atonement, and it shall be forgiven them. He shall remove the bull to the outside of the camp and burn it as he burnt the first bull. It is a sin offering of the congregation. Okay. So I see our little troll has left us. That's good. Okay. When a ruler sins and commits one from among all the commandments of Hashem, his God, that may not be done unintentionally, and becomes guilty, if the sin that he committed becomes known to him, he shall bring his offering a male goat unblemished. He shall lean his hands on the head of the goat, and he shall slaughter it in the place where he would slaughter the burnt offering before Hashem. It is a sin offering. The Kohen shall take from the blood of the sin offering with his forefinger and place it upon the horns of the burnt offering altar, and he shall pour its remaining blood upon the base of the burnt offering altar. And he shall cause all its fats to go up in smoke on the altar like the fats of the peace offering. Thus shall the Kohen provide him atonement for his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. If an individual person from among the people of the land shall sin unintentionally by committing one of the commandments, that Hashem that may not be done, and becomes guilty. Now this is interesting because it says that the individual person from among the people of the land, which means, again, the same law for everyone. The same law for everyone. The ger, the person who lives there, who even though he is not Jewish, and again they brought their korban to the temple also, and it was accepted. And if they committed a sin, then they would do the same thing that an Israelite would do. Okay, if his sin that he committed became known to him, he shall bring as his offering a she-goat unblemished for the sin that he committed. He shall lean his hands upon the head of the sin offering, and he shall slaughter the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. The Kohen shall take from its blood with his forefinger, place it on the horns of the burnt offering altar, and he shall pour all of its remaining blood upon the base of the altar. He shall remove all of its fats, and the fat that had been removed from upon the fat that had been removed from upon the feast peace offering, and the Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. The Kohen shall provide him atonement, and it shall be forgiven him. If he shall bring a sheep as an offering for a sin offering, he shall bring a female unblemished. He shall lean his hands upon the head of the sin offering, and he shall slaughter it for a sin offering in the place where he would slaughter the burnt offering. The Kohen shall take from the blood of the sin offering with his forefinger and place it upon the horns of the burnt offering altar, and he shall pour its remaining blood upon the base of the altar. And he shall remove all of its fats, the fat that would be removed from the feast peace offering sheep, and the Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar on the fires of Hashem, and the Kohen shall provide him atonement for his sin that he committed, and it shall be forgiven him. You want to get a drink? Yeah, you know what? I think I will have a drink. Can I have one? I guess so. You want a drink? Oh, that's good. Okay. Shall we go on? Yes, chapter 5. Chapter 5. Okay. If a person will sin, if he accepted a demand for an oath, and he is a witness, either he saw or he knew, if he does not testify, he shall bear his iniquity. Or if a person will have touched any contaminated thing, like a dead body, whether the contaminated carcass of a beast, or the contaminated carcass of an animal, or the contaminated carcass of a creeping animal, but it was concealed from him, and he is contaminated and became guilty. Or if he will touch a human contamination in any manner of its contamination through which he can become contaminated, but it was concealed from him. And when we get into things like Metzora and Tazria, we'll find out all about those things. Let's see, he can become contaminated, but it was concealed from him, and then he knew, and he became guilty. Or if a person will swear, expressing with his lips to do harm or to do good, anything that a person will express in an oath, but it was concealed from him, and then he knew, and he became guilty regarding one of these matters. Now, how would he not know? Well, that's a good question. How would he not know? Unless he was expressing this guilt or this oath to himself and somebody overheard him, and that's what they mean by, it became known to him. Because, you can't actually give an oath unless there's a witness. So if somebody heard him, then it would be considered an oath. That makes sense. Okay, I thought it did. Okay. So when one shall become guilty regarding one of these matters, he shall confess what he had sinned. He shall bring as a guilt offering to Hashem for the sin he committed a female from the flock, a sheep or a goat, for a sin offering, and the Kohen shall provide him atonement for his sin. But if his means are insufficient for a sheep or a goat, then he shall bring as a guilt offering for that which he sinned 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves to Hashem, one for a sin offering and one for a burnt offering. He shall bring them to the Kohen, who shall offer first the one that is for the sin offering. He shall nip its head at its nape, but not separate it. He shall sprinkle from the blood of the sin offering upon the wall of the altar. The remaining blood he shall press out toward the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall make the second one a burnt offering according to its law. And the Kohen shall provide him atonement for his sin that he committed, and it shall be forgiven him. But if his means are insufficient for 2 turtle doves, or for 2 young doves, then he shall bring as his guilt offering for that which he sinned 1/10 ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall not place oil on it, nor shall he put frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. He shall bring it to the Kohen, and the Kohen shall scoop with his 3 fingers as the memorial portion. Remember, we talked about the 3 fingers. Okay, the Kohen shall provide him atonement for the sin that he committed regarding any of these, and it will be forgiven him, and it shall belong to the Kohen like the meal offering. Okay, catching up on the chat room here. Okay, so we're going to move on to the guilt offering now. Okay, so Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, if a person commits treachery and sins unintentionally against Hashem's holies, he shall bring his guilt offering to Hashem, an unblemished ram from the flock, with a value of silver shekels, according to the sacred shekel, for a guilt offering. He has deprived the sanctuary, he shall make restitution, and add a 5th to it. and give it to the kind of like what do they say that when they want in court, when they want to set an example by giving somebody a fine that's actually more than what would normally be given. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember either. But they actually have a term for it. It's kind of like that. So it's this is the value of what you took or what you caused to be broken or destroyed or whatever. Plus you have to add to it a fifth. Okay, so fifth to it, and give it to the Kohen. The Kohen shall provide him atonement with the ram of the guilt offering, and it shall be forgiven him. If a person will sin and will commit one of the commandments of Hashem that may not be done, but he did not know and became guilty, he shall bear his iniquity. He shall bring an unblemished ram from the flock of proper value as a guilt offering to the Kohen, and the Kohen shall provide him atonement for the inadvertence that he had committed unintentionally, and he did not know, and it shall be forgiven him. It is a guilt offering. He has become guilty before Hashem. Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, what does he keep saying? He said, I thought this was all one conversation. Well, yeah, and actually, Rashi actually talks about this. We would think that each time we see this, Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, do this, do that, tell the people this, tell the people that, tell Aharon this, tell Aharon that. This is actually, I believe Rashi tells us that this is one conversation. But what he's doing here is that why it keeps saying that Hashem spoke to Moshe is because after he gives him the commandment, the preceding commandment, he gives him time. He pauses to give Moshe time to wrap his head around what was just said to him. Rather than rattling all these things off one right after another, he wants Moshe not just to remember this, he wants him to understand it. So he pauses so that Moshe has a chance to think about it and to wrap his head around it and to gain some kind of an understanding of it. So better for him to explain it to everyone else. So every time we see this, Hashem spoke to Moshe, when we're talking about all on the same subject, it's because he's giving Moshe that pause for him to understand. It's much like when we read the Tehillim, and we see, and many people have noticed this and they've asked me about this. When we read the Tehillim, or we read certain prayers, and there is a Selah in there, and they say, well, why don't you ever say the Selah? And I say, well, it's because my understanding of that is that is a pause. That is a signal to pause, especially in the Tehillim. It will go along and it will say Selah, and then it will continue on. And it's kind of like a musical notation. It's kind of like a rest. I mean, when we're playing a piece of music and we come to a rest, we don't stop and say, rest, and then pick up and go on. We have the rest and we continue. Okay, so the same thing with Selah. That means that pause, stop, think about this. This is important. What you just read is important. So think about it for a minute and then go on. Okay, so that's what Hashem is doing with Moshe here. He's giving him a pause for him to give him the opportunity to think about it and to gain an understanding of it. Okay, so Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, if a person will sin and commit a treachery against Hashem by lying to his fellow regarding a pledge or a loan or a robbery, or by defrauding his fellow, or he found a lost item and denied it, and he swore falsely about any of all the things that a person can do to sin thereby, so it shall be that when he will sin and become guilty, he shall return the robbed item that he robbed, or the proceeds of the fraud, or the pledge that was left with him, or the lost item that he found, or anything about which he swore falsely. He shall pay its principal and add its fifth to it, and he shall give it to its owner on the day he admits his guilt. In other words, no pausing to think about it. The minute that you admit your guilt, you have to make it right then, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Right. Okay. He shall bring his guilt offering to Hashem, an unblemished ram from the flock of the proper value as a guilt offering to the Kohen. The Kohen shall provide him atonement before Hashem, and it shall be forgiven him for any of the things he might do to incur guilt. And that concludes Parsha Zav, or Vayikra. Zav is the next Parsha, is Vayikra. Okay, so I want to remind you that this Shabbat is actually three. It's actually three parshas. We have Parsha Vayikra. We have, three. We actually have three different readings. But we have Parsha Vayikra. We have Parsha HaChodesh. And we also have the a short Parsha for Rosh Chodesh, which is going to occur on Shabbat. So we have it's a threefer. Yes, it's a threefer this week. So be prepared for that. So and there is also a special Haftorah. The Haftorah goes with the Parsha HaChodesh, but there's also an additional part to that, which is for Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And again, that starts Rosh Chodesh is Friday night, Friday evening after sundown. Friday is the first day of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which means Pesach is coming very soon. It will be on us before we even know it. So if you haven't started your Pesach cleaning yet, you should get to it. Yes, you should get to it. Like you should get to it. Yes, like I should get to it too also. I've been getting little bits of it done here and there, but yeah, we really need to concentrate on it. What's this wee stuff? Well, okay, I should really get on it and get this all taken care of, and hopefully I won't be at the last couple of days running around like a madman, as usual. Yeah, as usual. Trying to get everything finished in time for Pesach. So, and again, those of you who have been with us in previous years, we will be again having second night Seder right here. We will be broadcasting it live. So if you don't have a Seder to go to, or you just want to join us, we will be broadcasting it here live on YouTube, as we have done for many years now. So mark it on your calendar if you need to, and join us. Yeah, let all who are hungry come and eat. Yes, all who want to celebrate the Pesach. Yes, all who are hungry come and eat. All who want to celebrate the Pesach. Okay, so that concludes our Torah reading for this week. I'm glad you were all here. Let's go back and. Okay, we should, and this is like, you always do this after. Yes, yes, I always end up having to do this after we get off the air. because I just simply forget. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan betochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Amen indeed. Okay. So I want to thank you all for being with us. Christopher Robbins, Miriam, Dorothy, NatCat07, let's see, John D, Yair, Shoshi, Shlomo, I'm assuming, Daniel and Brooke, and Yair, and there's and Shlomo Phillips. Oh, okay, I didn't even see you sneak in there, Shlomo. Sorry. And those of you who weren't with us yesterday, check out yesterday's broadcast, because we had Shlomo on the show. We did a wonderful interview with him about his work and allfaith.com. And the hour and a half just kind of flew by before we even knew it. So if you get a chance, go back, and you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. It was actually a very good interview, and we hope to do more with Shlomo. So, since we've pretty much covered everything, don't forget we will be here on Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Kabbalat and Mariv, the Shabbat service, and Shabbat morning at 10 a.m. for Shachrit and Musaf service and the Torah reading and the Haftorah reading. Until then, everyone, we'll say Laila Tov! Laila Tov, everyone. This is the wrong one. I know it's the wrong one.